Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning. Baruch Hashem, the moment of Kislev continues to be sponsored by the Brenner family in memory and protection of Tov Yeruven ben Chaya Hadassah. It's proudly serving in Aza, Miriam and Avram Deutsch in honor of 30 years of Aliyah. Mindy Barad, and thanks to Hashem for miracles, past, present, and future for Am Yisrael, Be'ezer Hashem. And the week is sponsored by the Aaron family in honor of Yosef's birthday and for the safe return of our soldiers and kidnapped. By Michael Levy in memory of the yortzeit of his grandfather Dov Ber ben Zelig HaLevi. All right, so, and shkach, everyone that was here last night, and I don't know how to describe it, but it was, one day we'll understand it, Bezrat Hashem. So we have something today that is very, very important. What we're going to be learning today is going to be, I wouldn't say that it's going to be mashlim everything. I'm not going to say it's going to complete everything. But what we're learning today is a very, very important sugya of everything we've been learning till now, but looking at it really through a different lens. But it's the same lens, but a different lens. You'll see what I'm talking about. And most of the shir today, if not all, is based on a shir that Rav Weinberger had given a few weeks ago. And it's going to help us understand what we've been learning, what we've been learning, and just see it from a different angle, but a very, very important angle. If you could pass these around. We're going to start mamish from the top to the bottom and go really, really deep inside. And just flow with me. Okay? Stick with me, flow with me. There's a lot going on over here. I'm not even going to lityaches to excruciating pain that every Jew feels today, and every Jew feels every day, but the excruciating pain that the situation that we're in right now has led us as a nation, as a so-called leadership of a nation to go through right now. But I woke up this morning and I just looked at my kids and I said, what a perfect day for Mashiach to come. What a wonderful day for Mashiach to come. Okay. Let's start from the beginning. We have two main types of milchama. One is called Milchemet Mitzvah, and one is called Milchemet Reshut. Now the difference between the two, as you see in the Rambam, in the first source in front of you, we're going to understand what that means exactly. A king goes out, he first is chiyuv, the obligation on him is a milchemes mitzvah, a war of a mitzvah. What is that? Ezohi milchemes mitzvah. Zo milchemes shivas amamim, umilchemes amalek. It's a war against the 7 nations. That's referring to who are the 7 nations? The people that are conquering it, that have their hold on Eretz Yisrael. And the war of Amalek. And then he adds here, the Ezras Yisrael miyad tsar sheba alehem. This is very interesting. Ezrat Yisrael miyad tsar sheba alehem, the Rambam says. Helping Yidden from, it's like this category that he kind of leaves open. Ezrat Yisrael miyad tsar sheba alehem. Helping Yidden from the pain, from the face of some kind of tzaras that's coming over them. And only afterwards you go to Milchemet Reshut. What's Milchemet Reshut usually referring to? What's that?
Any other nations.
Expanding the borders is really what usually in Chazal, that's what it's referring to. Archavas Gvul. Expanding the borders. Like the Rambam says over here, this is the war that Am Yisrael fights in order to expand the borders of Am Yisrael, of Eretz Yisrael, and to bring about a calling, bring about something loud, right? This is one of the main reasons why the Lubavitcher Rebbe, whenever he would speak whenever he'd be asked during Milchamot Yisrael what to do, his Inyan was, while you're at it, go till Beirut, go till Damascus, go till there. Why? Because this concept of Leman Yiru V'Yirau, if you being victorious, it's not just not being killed. I know it's a chiddush here. Being victorious is not just not getting killed. Being victorious, al pi Torah, is not just being killed. It's much deeper than that. So again, it seems there are two types of milchamot. Milchemet Reshut and Milchemet Mitzvah. This category, Ezrat Yisrael Miyad Tzar Sheba'alem, we're gonna try to understand and decipher over here. Now, skip the second one, go to the third piece over here. The Rambam in Hilchos Melachim Perek Tet Halacha Yud Daled is speaking about Sheva Mitzvahs B'nei Noach. Okay? Establish it. What does that mean? I know we're jumping, but you'll see where we're going with this. What does it mean that there's a chiyuv that the nations of the world have a chiyuv in 7 different mitzvahs? And the Rebbe was very, very, the Rebbe's campaigns on Sheva Mitzvahs B'nei Noach was a very, very big one, right? That the nations of the world should take upon themselves the 7 Noahide laws. Ketzad mitzuvin hen al hadinin chayavim leoshiv dayanin v'shoftim b'chol pelach v'pelach ladun b'shesh mitzvot elu ulazir et ha'am. What is one of the key things that is a chiyuv obligation on the nations of the world to keep? Judicial systems, right? Justice, judgment, judges. A system that has din v'dvarim. Judgment, meaning a society that has judges, a society that you could work with, a society that has some kind of a moral, ethical code upon which they conduct themselves. Now listen to this. Uben Noach she'avar al achat misheva mitzvos elu yehareg b'saif. What does that mean? If they don't keep that, what are they supposed to be doing? Shechted, execution. Umipnei ze nischayvu kol ba'alei Shechem hariga. Therefore, all the people in the story of Shechem and Dinah were chayav to get killed. Why? Sharei Shechem gazal, vehem ra'u veyadu velo danuhu. They saw Shechem be over something, but take Zela by taking Dinah. They saw it, they knew it, velo danuhu. This is the Rambam. Uben Noach ne'erag be'ad echad, ובדיין אחד, ובדיין אחד, בלא התראה, ועל פי קרוביו, אבל לא בעדות אישה, ולא תידון אישה להם. So he says, one thing that is different over here is that, usually when it comes to dinim by us, it always says, al pi shtayim edim. You need to have 2 witnesses to give testimony that someone is chayav something. When it comes to a ben Noach, no, it's 1 aid, and belo hatra'ad, without any warning. It's an instant thing. This Rambam is very, very important for us to continue to approach our understanding of what this war is all about. But to continue to understand it, we needed to see these 2 Rambams, and now turn the page. Because what we're going to see now is something, this is one of the most powerful Maharals I've ever seen. Okay, this Maharal is Mashu Acher. This is something else. And even though we spent so much time speaking about Shechem and Dinah already, we have to go back to it to understand how we're learning out what we're learning out. You see in the Gur Aryeh is the parish of the Maharal and the Chumash, right? So we're in the story of Shechem and Dinah again. Remember what happens with Shechem and Dinah, Shimon and Levi. This is an amazing thing. Where's Shmuel? Shmuel, this is going to mashlim. This is this very interesting thing. It's a lot. And Jeremy, it's a lot of what we've been speaking about. Look at this. Ach kashe. You see where it says ach kashe? Im Shechem chata, kol ha'ir ma chat'u laharog. It's a little bit hard for us to understand. If it was just Shechem that did the bad thing that he did, why should the whole city? Why should they have gotten punished and been killed? V'tiretz Rambam. So that's why I want to learn the Rambam inside. Okay, the Rambam explained to us in Hilchos Melachim, the bnei Noach mitzuvim al hadinim, that a ben Noach has a tzivui, that they must have a judicial system. They must have the court set up. They must have a proper mahalach of just basic life, right? V'avera achat she'over ne'erag al yado. V'kan ra'u ha'maaseh hara hazeh ve'lo danuhu, like we said, they all saw what Shechem did, and no one said a peep. Lechach hayu chayavim mita shelo hayu danim otam. Therefore, they're all obligated. They were all chayav misa because they did not. They didn't do the. They didn't say anything. They didn't judge him. So the Maharal says on the Rambam, this is really wondrous. Be'emet dvar tema hem elu advarim. Maharal says this is really a wondrous thing. Such words. Ki ech efshar lehem ladun et ben nesi haaretz. How could they, who are the peasants, judge the nasi of the land, the head of the land? Who are they and who is he? Stomet, how could we expect the people in the city of Shechem to get up and judge the one that Kivyachol is watching, is the one that's over all of them? You hear the Shaila? Makes sense. Ki hayu yere'im mehem. They were petrified of him. Ve'afal gav shenitztavu al adinin, and even though they had a commandment, they were chayav, they were obligated to set up a court. Hainuk sheyuchlu ladun. That's in a situation where they're able to judge, where it's possible for them to set it up properly. Aval ones rachmana patre. But we have a klal in halacha that when what's ones? Ones is coercion. When you're forced to a situation that you're not able to do anything, like regarding certain mitzvahs, ones rachmana patre, right? There's certain mitzvahs that I'm just not able to keep for whatever the circumstances are. Ones rachmana patre. A lot of people were asking that on Simchas Torah Day regarding the rest of the day and Musaf, Akofis, all these different things. This concept comes up throughout halacha all the time. Ones rachmana patre, meaning that I'm sure you've heard this concept before, right? If I'm coerced into a situation that doesn't allow me to do the mitzvah for justified reasons, I'm patur from the obligation that I had to do it. So the Maharal says you could say that about the city of Shechem, right? Ones rachmana patre, they were forced in a situation that their leader was the one that put fear and aima in all of them. They don't have the ability to judge him. And they're innocent civilians. Sounds familiar? No? Nobody? Anybody?
Not exactly, because they voted in Hamas. It's not like they were voted in, so it's just
Ve'ech efshar lahem ladun otam. And how could you judge them? How could you judge them? Now, the Maharal answers this. You have to, yeah.
Does that apply to the Goyim as well?
This is going.
No, I'm saying the
it's good, very good.
Why would that
Very
be
good.
applicable to them?
I wouldn't have thought of it on my own, but since he brought it up, it seems so, yes. But it's a good question. Ones rachmana patre.
Saying that whole concept.
It's a very good shaila.
Concept for us.
Very good shaila.
That's not one of the...
Apparently the Maharal holds that it is. If not, he wouldn't have brought it up.
They have a whole Torah as well.
Nachon, but he's referring to this concept that we don't see. We've only seen it more by. It's true what he's saying by Yidden, yeah. But it's a good. But if the Maharal didn't,
That's only for Jews.
He's only introducing the concept here. It doesn't apply because Shem gets all of Shem.
Exactly. We know the rest of the story. He's bringing up. Listen, what is he doing? He's doing a hablam. This pilpul happens. What is pilpul? You bring up a bunch of svaras that you may say this may be held true. This may be shayach. This may be shayach. But at the end, lemaisa, you think I'm going to bring you a Maharal that's going to show us that Shimon and Levi were Rishayim? Right? So, but this is how we build up. This is very important for us, for our learning. For those that aren't familiar with this style, this is how things happen. Okay, so we bring up a bunch of things. Could be a taina, could be it's not shaykh. But because the Maharal, meaning it's a good shaila, what you're saying. But since the Maharal brought it up, he's bringing it up begeder svara, that may be that you can include this into the thought process of what would be the problem with what Shimon and Levi did.
Has there anybody else who's brought it up in a similar context?
I never saw it. Yeah.
What about the fact that we're talking about the obligation for the nations of the world to hold the Sheva Noahide laws? Now, if the people of the world are not even holding by them, I would imagine that none of this is like, we're talking about a situation where Shechem they're supposed to be holding by the Noahide laws. So they're over on the Noahide, but like we're living with now with people that aren't even holding by the Sheva mitzvahs. They're even over on all.
That's the whole point.
Yeah. And therefore,
That's exactly
what's the
Like they don't even know from this show.
That doesn't pass with them.
A yid that doesn't remember it's a chiyuv, and that's why the Rebbe was so big on letting the world know about Sheva Mitzvot.
The Mabul before Noah chapter 3.
Right. Can. Now look, v'nira de lo kashya midi, meaning so we'll see. We're not gonna go this route. This is not such a hard thing. Why? Mishum de lo dami, shnei umos, ken gon bnei Yisrael v'aknanim. What we're speaking about here are two separate nations. These are two separate nations we're speaking about. We're not speaking about individuals. It's clearly there's a nation bifnei atzmo, and there's a nation bifnei atzmo. There's bnei Yisrael, and there's the Knanim. There's them. Shehem shnei umos, kidichsiv ve'ayinu le'am echad. Meaning they say when they came to them and said, "Come, let's we'll do the bris and then we'll become one people." Mehai mashma. But from here we learned that really that they weren't. It was two different nations. Nachon. Umitchila lo nechshavu le'am echad. Ulefichach, since each nation over here, Yisrael and Canaan, even though it was just the Shvatim at that point, right? What was Am Yisrael at that point? It was just the Shvatim. It was not a whole. It wasn't a whole chevra. It was a very passionate chevra. Yeah, Shechem and Shimon and Levi, Tina. Yeah. The Shvatim are there, but the tribes. But more than that, but still, it's considered. It's an umma bifnei atzma, a nation on its own. Ulefichach hutar lahem lilchom kedin umma sheba lilchom al umma acheret. And therefore, they had the heter to fight against them, like a nation comes and fights another nation. Shehitira haTorah. And if you look down and over here in the footnotes, he brings over here like it says, Kiseitzil milchama alevecha. It's an established war over here already. That's what he's saying. And he brings the Rambam Milchos Melachim, Odot ha'evdel ben Milchemet Mitzvah Milchemet Reshut. He goes to the same sources that we go to. Now, but that's not even what we're trying to get to. Ve'afal gav de amra Torah ki tikrav el ir lilachem alea ve'karata alea l'shalom. Even though we have the concept that when you come to fight a certain nation, what are you supposed to first do?
Offer peace.
In what circumstances? Huh?
If they surrender.
Right.
If they agree not to fight.
Hainu heichi de lo asu liYisrael davar. Milchemes Reshus, it seems. Meaning, I know it's a little bit different than the way we usually learn, but this is good for our yeshivish brains. He's saying over here, in a situation that a nation didn't do anything to Am Yisrael, but we have to wage war against them, then first you come and you offer peace. That's in a situation where nothing happened, right? Nothing bad happened. No one did anything. Aval heichi, change the page over. Heichi de asu liYisrael davar. Stick in the perush. Kegon ze shepartzu bahem la'asot lehem nevela. Like in a situation that they infiltrated their camp to do a ma'aseh nevela. Steve, can you show them where we are? Kegon ze shepartzu bahem la'asot nevela. Afal gav de lo asa rak echad mehem. Listen to the words of the Maharal. Even though only one did something, that was poretz letoch hamachne to do ma'aseh nevela. Kevan de michlal ha'amhu, since he's from this other nation, kevan shepartzu lehem tchila, mutarim likach nikmatam mehem. The Maharal introduces us to a new word. What's the word called? Milchemet Nekama. The Maharal says, if that's what happens, if this is what happens, I want to explain it to make sure it's very clear to everybody. If one person from the other machane, we're not talking about a machane that's sitting there peacefully, but a machane that comes and instigates and comes into machane Yisrael, poretz, and does ma'aseh nevela. What's ma'aseh nevela? I don't know. Rape, beheading. What else? Burning. All of the above. You name it. The Maharal says, כיוון שפרצו להם תחילה, מותרים לקח נקמתם מהם. The Maharal introduces us to something crazy. You go inside and take Nekama from them. What that means is what we've been trying to decipher and learn for a while. Yeah.
Is the Maharal referring back and making a connection because they did not have a court system and they did this, or
No, I think it's
is that
The Maharal, it's separate. It's benosaf.
Yeah.
והחינמי, כל המלחמות שהם נמצאים, כגון צרור את המדיינים. Now he goes back to Midian. Right? אף על גב דהיו הרבה שלא עשו, even though there were plenty from Midian that weren't משתתף in that, they didn't participate in that which we had to take Nekama for, אין זה חילוק. כיוון שהיו באותה אומה שעשה רע להם. Because they were in the same nation that did sin.
Citizens, but it's Jewish.
We're gonna continue. We're gonna continue to live it. We're gonna continue to live it, but based on this Maharal. Mutarin lavo alehem lemilchama v'chen hem kol hamilchamot. The Maharal is saying something very clear. It's not confusing. This Maharal, we're not squeezing it to make it sound good for us. The Maharal made it very clear. You understand? If anyone that knows basic Hebrew, the Maharal is explaining over here this concept of what Israel brought up about in a state of war, where this one comes in and there's this concept called innocent civilians. We're so mushpa from that, from Western and American culture and this lashon that it's hard. It's like it touches on these places in us that, people are having. It's amazing how many existential crises the youth of today is having. Like there's a whole tzibur now. There's a whole 19-year-old TikTok generations having existential crisis after reading a letter by Osama bin Laden. Now there's a whole other existential crisis of a bunch of my chevra because Dave Matthews got up Friday night in Madison Square Garden and spoke about how it ripped his heart open to see a girl from Gaza that was holding some rainwater and drinking it and how much simcha it brought her. So, and you have people that are so warped into a system that you're receiving your hashra'ah, you're receiving your influence and your inspiration from figures that are so, all they have is just really good talent with their fingers and their songs. But mitzad anything else, it's unbelievable. You see Sherry Mandel's piece about Eric Clapton? You send it to me. Wow, you have to read this. You have to see this. All these nevelas, I'll send it out. All these nevelas ventrefus. It's an amazing thing. But these people come in the name of, but not everyone did it. And the international pressure that's on us, that has forced to a certain extent this crazy reality that we're in right now, comes in the name of ki'ilu tzedek, as if it's justice, to actually take into consideration the dense population of a people that elected these Nazis, and it's on us now to continue to suffer the way that we're suffering. It's on us. It's up. Chavre, please. Lat. I know that these shiurim bring out a lot, but please flow with me, okay? We have a very important mahalach to see here. I want to make sure everyone understood the Maharal over here. The Maharal is saying like this, Chavre. It's very clear. Mutar likach nikmatam mehem kevan shepartzu lahem tchila. As far as I know, on October 6th, no Yidden were running into Gaza trying to kidnap any Yishmaelim. As far as I know, on October 6th, no Yidden were going into anywhere to instigate anything. We have to come back to our Even Yesod, to our very clear understanding of the Torah approach to these concepts. Now, back to Steve's question. This is very interesting. You could hold, on the one hand, on the level of Beis Din, Shel Mitzvot Bnei Noach, one svara, saying they did not set up any judicial system. In fact, the system they did set up elected these monsters, right? So what does that say about their understanding of Shel Mitzvot Bnei Noach, whether they know or not?
I didn't understand.
Their system
Now you understand, right?
Their system
Their system actually requires Nachon. That's one svara. second svara is now we're not even there anymore. Now we're saying, look what happens when someone comes, poritz into Machane Yisrael and does a ma'asen avela. Even he says he uses the lashon even one. He says even afal gavda you are beshelo asu, even though there were plenty that didn't. Ein ze chiluk kevan shayu beota uma she'asar alehem. You were part of that nation that came and did bad to you. Mutarin lavo alehem lamilchama. V'chen hem kol hamilchamot, and that's really what all the milchamot are all about. Now, go back to the page, the first page of the Mekorot. Now let's get juicy with achronim, modern day achronim. This will help us even clarify the situation more, because I feel that we are still not in this room necessarily, but still like outside this room, there is still such a sense of bilbul, of a confusion. It's not to be believed. It's pashut not to be believed. And our focus, we've taken on a war from day one. The chayal is not mebulbal to go and wipe out Amalek, wipe out these Nazis, Yimach Sheman. We have to not be mebulbal at all in terms of how we are understanding our being hidden here, our existence here in Eretz Yisrael, and our Shmiras Torah mitzvahs. Does everyone have pages? Because I want everyone to look at this. There's plenty of extra ones over there if someone needs. Look at source number 4. Okay? Source number 4 is from the Sefer Ikvei Hatzon. Anyone know who this is? This is Rav Hershel Shachter shlit'a. Okay? Rav Hershel Shachter, the father of one of my closest friends in the world. He's the Rosh Yeshiva University for many, many years. Talmid Muvak of Rav Soloveitchik, a Gaon Olam. And one of the most sensitive people. One of the most emotional people you'll ever meet. I was one time, I spent Shabbos Chayes Sarah. I did a Shabbaton for YU, and he was there for Shabbos, and he gathered all the children of the community in Washington Heights around the table, and he asked them, did any of you ever hear of Ma'ara Samachpela? And when he said the words Ma'ara Samachpela, he couldn't continue the shmuz because he started crying. Avram, he started mentioning the names of the Avos Simos, he was just crying. That's him. Even when he made a call to go to the rally in D.C., and a little video of him speaking about it, he started crying just thinking about Lech Knossos Kol HaYehudim. So in Ikvei Hatzon, Rav Shachter says like this. This is not Rav Kahana. You understand? Read these words. Im yesh tzorech bekach, ki לפעמים מן הנמנע לברר מי הם המחבלים המארגנים את ההפרעות ואת המהומות. Sometimes there are situations that you can't exactly identify who is actually a terrorist and who's not yet one. Or, you know what I mean? Not actively one in the moment. There are times like this, right? So what do you say over here? What does the world say? What does the world say?
You can't take the chance. You can't take the risk.
Asur. Genocide. רשעים וחייבים צהל להכות ואף להרוג כפי הדרוש לנצח במלחמה אף אחרים מעושה האומה שהם חפים מפשע. To Rav Hershel Shachter, this is a clear tshuva. Does it get clearer than this? Does it get clearer than this? No. Clear. What does this mean? Not only are they permitted, the army has a chiyuv to go out even when you can't begin to differentiate, specify like this insane balagan that we've that in our minds we put ourselves into because we're going like this, right? Now,
he says the what, but he doesn't say the why. We're saying because they didn't judge it, because they didn't stop it, because they're all.
Because
we went back.
Because they've already come. Because it's based on the Maharal. Because they've already come out and instigated. It's there already. It's a mitzias that exists. It's not. This is not a milchemes reshus where you're still wondering. There probably will be. Now that's a whole nother shir. That's basically a when was the disengagement? The Girush. 2005, right? That's an 18-year-old. So that's. I was going to say that's an 18-year-old shir. No, meaning that shir, mitzad achiv v'alacha, is an 18-year-old shir that we've been right. So 18 years since they. Right? That's already a different shear in terms of what, the whole preemptive concept that is, Lord, I just feel like there's such a blinding over here. But here, he's coming, Mikunat Anacha, Yesh Kvar Shama. It's already there, and they're acting on it. Now, we didn't need Simchas Torah to know this. We didn't need Simchas Torah to know that this is already out there in the world.
We had Tilim, we had people who did come across the border before October 7th.
Non-stop. Now, go to the Netziv? The Netziv here is something very, very important to learn. This is the Netziv, Rav Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin. Okay? This is Perish on the Torah, on Parshas Noach. We have a concept that says, Shofech dam ha'adam, ba'adam damo yishofech, ish be'achiv edrosh et nefesh ha'adam. What is everyone's so big on talking about these days? Everyone's nivra b'tzelem Elokim. Everyone's created in the image of God. And they use that kind of manipulation to come and tie us to a place that makes it impossible for us to go out k'mo shetzarich. So the Netziv explains to us a little bit, and he says like this. Matay adam ne'enash. When does a person get punished for acting like this? if he murders someone, b'sha'a shera'ui linhog be'achva. When you're supposed to act, what's the right word for achva? Like peace and love? 60s. When you're supposed to act like peace and love and harmony, brotherhood, kumbaya, and you don't, and you do, you get punished. Shofech dam adam ba'adam damo yishofech. You're going to get punished. Ma she'en ken b'sha'at milchama. And look what he calls it now. Ve'et lisno. It's like what Kohelet said. We skip over like et lehov, et milch, and then you skip over another one. Et shalom. It's like certain ets we don't a time for this, a time for that. It's only the stuff that makes us feel like good about ourselves. Then we the Maharal.
What is the et shalom? It never came. To take it out of the book there.
Ma she'en ken b'shat milchama ve'et lisno. The Netziv says, in a time, in an appropriate time where there should be hatred, et laharog. Ve'en onesh al ze klal. And there's no punishment on this at all whatsoever. Ki kach notzra ha'olam. This is how the world was created. This is what's brought into the world. Va'afilu melech Yisrael mutar lo la'asot milchemet reshut af al gav shekam Yisrael yehargu al yedei zeh. So he goes further and he says, we're always speaking about milchemet mitzvah, but even milchemet reshut, when there's a milchama when there's a war that needs to be waged in order to preemptive strike a whole tzibur that we know will come after us. Even there, a melech is mutar, even if chas v'shalom there are casualties on our own side from this same din, because in et milchama is an et lisno and et larog. Listen, I also don't enjoy talking. You think I enjoy talking like this? Like I've been waiting to talk like this? Ma pitom.
It gets our nefesh.
We never learned this.
It gets the nefesh, Hayuti.
That's the wire. I'm so we're not talking.
But it's so hard for us to show them. It's against our nefesh.
It's against, not nefesh, it's against our
Way of nature.
It's against our way of thinking. Yeah. The truth is, if we were really plugged into the nefesh Yehudi, at all, like I told you, one of our chevra called me from the front line and said to me, I told you this, and he said to me, I'm really scared because I want to go in there right now, and I want to kill our enemies, and I'm not thinking about anything else. And he said, I'm feeling like I'm losing my Jewish soul. I said, are you crazy? We lost our Jewish soul by enabling this situation to happen. You actually are you're connecting to your. This is the Netziv. B'shat milchama ve'et lisno az et la'arog ve'en onesh al ze klal. What the Netziv is forcing us to do is to call it. It's either a war or it's not a war. Either it's a war or it's just another mivtza. If it's a war, which we're calling it a war, then act like a war. Now, just to show you how much we go out of our way, even with people that Kivyachol we have good relationships with, but they may get caught in crossfire, but with a warning, En Malasot, we have a chiyuv to do this. If you look at source number 6, in Sefer Shmuel, by Shaul HaMelech, Vayomer Shaul El Hakini. Now this is Shaul HaMelech reaching out while he's on his way to what didn't end up happening being a complete mitzvah, because he kept Agag, but when he's on his way to go and kill Amalek. So who's the Kini? What family is that? From Yitro. It's Mishpacha. So he knows they kind of dwell amongst the Amalekites, the Kini. But he tells them, Lechu suru redu mitocha Amaleki. Get out of there. Why? Because if you don't, pen osifcha imo. What does Shaul HaMelech say? He says, if you don't leave, right. Now we've been spending how many days telling, I wouldn't put the Ishmaelim of today into the Kenis for a second, right? Not for a second. Not for a second. I'm not even going there for a second. But even if you would say so, okay? Even if you'd say so, the leaflets, the letters that they drop down on these places, that's not that משהו חסר שם מבחינת נשמה יהודית. If it's an עת מלחמה, these people know everything. They know, they elected this. They know everything. They're none of them.
They celebrated.
They celebrated, and we're still dropping leaflets and letters. Now again, I know this is like, I know what's happening to some of us in the room, and I know that a bunch of chevra afterwards they have a really hard time with this kind of talk. Ma shemanyen oti is Jewish life. Man yaseh. I know, such a racist. Ma shemanyen oti is to make sure that Yidden don't get killed anymore. That when a chayal goes out to do a war, he fights like a Jewish soldier. He fights like a Jewish soldier, al pi Torah. That, the thing from Shaul HaMelech is clearly showing us, he tells them, this is like mishpacha already. And he says to them, I don't know how you say it in English, it's not Canaanites, Kenis, or whatever you say, Jethroites. I guess so, yeah. They're I know. There's some. They're a lot of them have been makriv their life. Mesirus nefesh me'ein kamohu. They're bris with that. This is a very, very deep concept. You ever see how they treat Yishmael when they get Yishmael Lilmod? But even in a situation that Shaul HaMelech had an obligation to go and kill Amalek, and he goes and he kills and he tries to kill Amalek, he tells the king, he's like, listen, just letting you know, if you don't leave, I'm just letting you know you're going to be killed. That's what Shaul HaMelech says. Now, the bottom one, the last one we have over here, is just going to bring it even more to modern times. The bottom one is from the Sefer Amud HaYamini. Amud HaYamini is a Sefer from Rav Shaul Yisraeli. Have you heard of him? Rav Shaul Yisraeli was one of the chief rabbis. He was the Rosh Yeshiva of Merkaz HaRav. I had the schus of being at his levaya. When I was a teenager, they took us to his levaya. And his Sefer, now he's talking more in modern times of like the bat, like sort of like Rav Shachter, like what we're up against and how things work in today's context of how we're fighting, and what these enemies bring out in us. Aval im, see the bottom 7. Aval im kvar ba'u kodem elu shenesevu. Im kvar ba'u kodem ela shenesevu. Now let's say what happens, they come, they infiltrate, and then they go back to their place. Now, Rav Shaul Yisraeli died about 25 years ago, okay? Let's say they infiltrate into Machane Yisrael, and then they go back into their place. Umatratam lachzor, but they have a matrat to come back. I don't know about you, but I heard about 5 different times they're saying there's going to be another October 7th, another October 7th, and even if they didn't say that, only if you really, really are in love with putting your face into a wall, you wouldn't hear that, right? Umatratam lachzor velavo harei hem begeder tzorerei Yisrael veyesh bahem din Milchemet Nekama. Everyone thinks it's like Rav Kahana was this fanatic, and he's like a Yadas Yachin.
But he's using a third version.
This is what we said in the beginning.
Mitzvah,
Milchemet Reshus, Milchemet
Unless
Nekama.
he's saying Milchemet Nekama is Milchemet Mitzvah. That's what it is.
Why has that
yeah,
word been like, extricated
Yeah.
from Torah Judaism?
America, Mamash.
What America?
Saying, why is that word, why has that word been like, why has it been extricated? Yeah.
In the Western world.
That's all it is. Now, these words are just a crazy thing. Hem begeder tzorei Yisrael. It's exactly the situation we're in right now. Hem begeder tzorei Yisrael, ve'esh be'em din milchemes nekama, ve'en shum chova ledakdek ba'asiyas ha'pula shelo yipagu ba ela elu shehishtatfu. And it should be no extra attention being put towards making sure that you're only hitting those that actually went into the kibbutzim and the moshavim and the motzavei tzahal and simchas Torah. Ki zo darko shel milchapa, shenispot tzadikim rasha. So that's he's not claiming that the innocent ones are tzadikim, but he's explaining that, just like Rav Kook writes in the Oros, it's like there's a concept that happens. War brings about that sometimes innocent people get killed, but for that to be the way that I go out and wage war with that concept in a perverted way, Hashem Yirachem on us. That's the first 75 years, and I'm praying for a new Hitorerut within the Am that understands that was part of the past. But if we don't realize that that's just the past and not the future, there won't be a future here. It just won't be. It won't be. En somchin al hanes. We don't rely on miracles. Ve'al yoter mizeh. Third line, he continues and he says, Yesh makom le'peulat tigmul. You know what tagmul is? Tagmul is, what's the word?
Baiting them.
Huh?
It's like baiting them, isn't it?
No. No, but tagmul, there's a word. What's the right word? Someone check it up really fast. Tagmul. There's a word for it. Retribution. That's what it is. Retribution. ועל יותר מזה יש מקום לפעולת תגמול ונקם נגד צוררי ישראל. A place for retribution and revenge against these vicious murderers. ופעולה כזאת, סטיב, הם בגדר מלחמת מצווה. וכל אסון ופגע שקרה לפורעים, לבעלי בריתם, וילדיהם, and any horrible thing that happens to the murderers, to their accomplices, and to their children, hem she'arevim lezeh. It is all on them. All on them. Vehem avonam yisal, and they'll have to carry that pain of what happened. Ve'en shum chova lehimana mipeulat tagmul, machmat chashash sheyipagu bazeh chafim mipesha. Can you believe these words? He's saying, and there's no obligation to refrain from retribution because innocent people may get hurt by it. Ki lo anu hagormim, because we didn't cause any of this. Ki hem atzmam, this is them. When you see, I don't know how much of you, when you see a kid that's killed in Gaza, you look at their father, or you look at anyone representing them, and you have to understand, it's their parents that killed them. V'anachnu nekim. And we are clean. We are clean. You see, after we learn it out like this, I don't know what to say to anybody else about anything. Like, I don't know where else, I don't know, other than the question that Ari's asking is like, so if this is so, it's so just barur, then we have to, maybe the deep avoda is, so we need such a tshuva in this department as an am. Where do we start? Where do we start with such a tshuva in terms of basic, the highest value of life is life itself. But if the way that we're approaching waging wars or dealing with enemies continues to put lives in danger, it means that we have to do serious tshuva in this regard. Now, why, like, how exactly it happened that this word, like Milchemet Nekama or Nekam?
There's a great. This morning I got this text from a very great tzaddik of a rabbi that I love and have a deep relationship with. And I was listening to his podcast.
You don't have to read them what I wrote you this morning.
He said on his podcast, we're not going in to do for revenge. We're going in because to prevent them from doing it again. So I said, revenge is a thing. And he wrote, it's my understanding that the Torah does not endorse revenge even against a non-Jewish enemy. Self-defense, justice, and maybe even punishment to create a future deterrent of attack, but not simply to get back at someone revenge. That's God's department, which is why people's reaction to evil acts against Jews is to say, Hashem Yinakem.
You should send them the source sheet.
I want to send them 9 classes.
But I'll explain to you something. We're honestly, what I'm speaking about that's not being activated or done is not even Nekama. Like, you could take out the word Nekama from all here and just say, like, Milchemet Mitzvah, right? It's not even, forget that. Like, that's already later. Just Milchemet Mitzvah, just understanding the pshat of what a Milchemet Mitzvah is, which the Rambam says. And the Melech, that's when he starts off.
Radical.
That's what the Rambam says. That's what he has to go out and do. So, forget about the revenge. Maybe then only the next generation will have kalim to hear a word like that and not be so scared that we're becoming kitzah. Just pshat Milchemet Mitzvah, what Rav Shachter, what the Netziv, what the Rambam, what the Maharal, what Rav Yisraeli are showing us. Yes, it's maybe you can call it Milchemet Nekama, and you have the right for Nekama, but forget about all those things of revenge. Just in terms of how do you conduct yourself in battle against enemies. Just stick with there.
This is all halacha.
Yeah, just stick with there.
Torah, so to speak, so wrong. What is it? When it comes to like taking over on Shabbos, like you're like an insane soldier about following the halakha down to like literally the last detail, and really, and maybe as you should be. So like, how could it be that there are sources from the same book that we're studying that you're so medactic on seemingly other mundane matters, or maybe at very least equal? But Torah's Torah, halacha halacha.
I think because when I maybe like do borer or those halachas, no one changes their opinions about me. But these are things that people change their opinions about me based on how I learn them.
Well, that's not. I mean, but that's not how Torah. I don't know. If I'm borer at a table, like, oh wow, you're a real whack out from guy. So like I don't know. Maybe people do. Like, you're able to stand up in a certain way that way. But like that's not how Torah works. I don't know. I mean, that's the whole point. I only care about me and Hashem.
The rest of the
I wonder. You're not asking a question.
I'm just trying to understand.
Right.
How is it that people that learn this so well and are so knowledgeable and know all these sources that aren't so crazy that you just brought up aren't more influenced by it? I'm saying, what is it that's off? How did the sitra off? I mean, now I'm very suspect then on anything else they might say, because there's.
It's really not that complicated.
The leadership is not following the Torah. We don't have Torah leadership.
Yeah.
It's not so complicated. The Gemara says that Shem regrets certain things that he created, one of which is goals. And we usually say, why does he regret goals? Because they didn't do tshuva. But it's much deeper than that. We have spent almost 2,000 years with no power to protect, to even think about the concept of Milchemet Mitzvah. It's a theory. It's a nice thing to learn about. We've deduced from the story of Shimon and Levi, which is the only way we could rationalize it while living in Poland or wherever we were,
Or America.
or even America, that Yaakov was angry at them. They didn't do the right thing, period. Because we did not have the power. So you adapt. You are a product of your environment. And you cannot shake the fact that 2,000 years of an environment of powerless Jews will have a result that even Talmidei Chachamim are saying, Nekama, we leave it to Hashem. Why? Because, we can't do anything about it. This it implies that we can do something. And that there is a correct version of Nekama when the Nekama is for the kavod of Hashem.
It's not just can, it's an obligation to do something.
I don't know if...
Not just can.
David. Just louder, okay? I already know I'm going to tell you to talk louder.
Is this, and maybe I'm not.
Louder. I can't hear you.
My question is this, and maybe I'm not fully. Because right now it seems like what we're doing is we're saying we're trying to kill the quote unquote terrorists, and if some quote unquote innocents get in the way, we told them to leave. Too bad. That's kind of, I feel like, what we're doing. And my question based on halacha is everyone an equal target, regardless of whether we think that you're sitting behind a rocket launcher or you may happen to be a quote-unquote innocent, or are the civilians bidi evid, that's what happens in war? Like, are they saying basically, we go in there, we don't care, you're equal, you're all equal, and we're killing you all?
No, there is room to say the no, but it's the latter.
It says, Rav Shachter wrote, Rashayim v'chayvim sahal, that we must lakot v'af larog kfi hadarush lenatzeach.
It's in order
We
to
must kill whatever is needed
in order to be victorious.
Meaning,
Whatever.
if there's innocent civilians there, and they're not part of our quote-unquote objective, we're not specifically meant to target them.
Of course not.
If they, well, no, I mean, it's not clear to me.
No, I
It
think
could be that the idea is they're all whatever, you're all complicit, we don't care what uniform you're whatever. If you're in my way, I'm killing you.
let me tell you a story what happened yesterday. Let me tell you a story that happened 2 days ago. Okay, 2 days ago in Gaza, a report from a soldier is that there was a truck with a bunch of people on it that they weren't sure. But obviously, you know, they were chashudim, but it wasn't. They were suspicious, but they weren't suspicious enough to go out and take it down, right? So they let it pass by, and a second later, from the back of the truck, 2 terrorists came out and killed 2 of our soldiers.
Yeah.
So the question that anyone should be having over there is like, so how is the way, how am I going out and how am I treating this enemy? What in my mind, what is this enemy? Who is this enemy? What's more, as far as I know, when you go out and wage war, your own life comes before someone else's life.
I have a story to respond to that's similar, but I'd rather not do it.
Okay,
Listen. Meaning that we are, in other cases, when this has happened, we have done the correct thing and not questioned it. And we just said we don't care if they're wearing white flags, waving white flags or not.
I know, but David, that's not a moment. That's not a reason for me to start being like, oh my God, we're so holy. It's like someone that says, you know what I did this morning? I got up and I didn't eat pork. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? Can you believe that I didn't eat pork this morning?
In regards to Dean's question,
Yeah.
we know that, we talk about this Rashi in Maharal.
Yeah.
This isn't just a Rashi. This is the halacha from Masechet Sofrim, okay, Tet Vav. This is quoting halacha by the Rambam, the Hilchot Avodah, and it's in the Shulchan Aruch. B'sha'at hamilchama tov v'goyim harov. So in regards to your question, according to that halacha, which is quoting the Shulchan Aruch, it would be the former, not the latter.
The reason why I'm saying the reason I'm saying the latter is because I don't think that we're treating it. I still think it's like a miftzah, not a milchama.
Who's the latter man?
The second,
They get in the way, then too bad. But you're not our
But that's less of the shaila of the shir. That's not even part of.
I'm just asking you this question.
No, Embaya. The Mahalach, it's really what Yossi was bringing up is like, wait a second. What am I missing? Like, what am I missing over here? What am I missing? Is there a whole new set of rules regarding what a Milchemet mitzvah is and what it isn't?
No. Western morals.
So I think like to Ari's question is that the Western morals infiltrated, very, very deeply. What would bring out like tshuva in order to come out of this? So I actually think that this is going to sound even crazier to you guys, but I actually think that it's a whole spiritual revolution that will then shift out the misused info the misused representation of how I think the right things are. I think it's actually a nikui mi bifnim that has to do with consciousness and awareness and spiritual, because it has to be hand in hand. But we haven't had, like I was saying this in the women's shir, we haven't had the luxury here in Am Yisrael, in Eretz Yisrael, like Israel brought up before. We haven't had the luxury. When have we had an Eit Shalom? Like when have we had enough time here since Auschwitz to like be like, now we're all just going to be in spa consciousness for like 5 years, right? We haven't even had that yet. So we need some like a tremendous awakening from the spirit, and that'll probably filter out a lot of things that in our minds we thought were right, that are really just very confusing and not in the derech. Okay, I have to end here. We have to go pay the shiva call. This is just, Chevra, this is like the 9th or 10th shir in this. We're scratching the surface over here. It's much more, but there's a lot more, and there are a lot more areas here that we're going to hopefully learn and in different aim as well. And we're all doing this because of one concept. What is it, Yosef? Say it. Leman Shmo Be'ava. Leman Shmo Be'ava. Leman Shmo Be'ava.